Hi everyone, welcome to the first meetup of the 2018. So let's go, who's talking today? So first, Mario is going to talk about maintaining pages on open source repo, so let's give him a round of applause. Another one is one of the hosts, Josip, is going to talk about living the lifestyle. So let's announce some of the conferences coming soon. So PHP UK is in about 3 weeks. If anybody's even interested in going to London, London is always a good place to go, but I'm not 100% sure if there are any more tickets today. They were just a few days ago. PHP Day coming in May. PHP Serbia coming in May. I would actually suggest to look today for tickets. They just released the super early bird for, I think it's 100 euros. They are limited and the full price will be 180 euros. So, and I guess they are going to be going crazy. So, Shift is at the end of May, and of course, we are giving away a ticket for both PHP Serbia and Shift Dev today. Dutch PHP conference is announced for start of June. Amsterdam is always nice, especially in June. Okay, so about the feedback initiative, we have a 1-year license for PHP Store, 1 ticket for Shift, 3-month subscription that we're giving away for Linda, 1-year subscription for Code Anywhere, 1 ticket for PHP Serbia conference, and now let's raffle. We have some names to go through. Sorry, I keep forgetting. Oh! Okay, Tony, thank you. William, ping him, loser, and send him like a, hey, your name is up there. Cool. That's, thank you.
That's why it's important to come and to come.
Tomislav Mihajlovic, not here. Boris Brdaric. Oh, we're gonna have some giveaways for next month. Igor. Again. Oh, let's do one more. Filip Lackovic. What are you taking?
PHP Storm.
Okay. You finally landed it.
Yeah, after 2 months.
After too long. So it's, I must confess, it's totally weird to not be connected to something else and forget about the connection. But I must say, I'm watching. It's off. So let's give another warm welcome to, warm applause to Mario.
Okay, hello everybody. Today I will talk about maintaining badges on open source repository. Basically, I'm not going to talk about badges itself because it's a very easy thing, but I will talk about services that generate the results which are displayed on those badges. First of all, before we start, I just want to mention I have a lot of speakers here, so everybody who puts a question, you can choose one. There's a lot of nice speakers.
Can I get one? That's a question.
Okay, you'll choose after. I have very nice ones, especially this one. So,
It's beautiful.
No pun intended.
yes, that's fine. Okay, just short notice about me. I'm a husband, father of two. You can find me at Twitter with this Twitter handle, PHP Artist. Quite brilliant name, I must say. Okay, I maintain some simple websites on GitHub pages. Just look at there. Also, I'm backend developer at Megan, and I have a second job. I'm a chief fire officer, so if you have problems with fire, you can just call me the real fire.
You do fires or you prevent them?
I prevent them. Basically, I do not prevent the fire because fire always starts and they have a problem, but
Now, do you create them or do you stop them?
I stopped it. Okay, let's get started. So, few questions for you guys and girls. Do you have any open source projects posted on GitHub? Okay. How many downloads do they have? So those projects are just those files of yours, or some simple library that's got only 10 downloads from you, or it's actually used instead of PHP community?
No, it's not you, it's mine.
Okay.
But
Anybody
they
else?
have a lot of downloads.
How much? 15?
No, 100, but that's a fake number.
Okay. Anybody else? Has stickers? No? Okay. So basically this question is probably irrelevant. So you're not paid for the office of development. Okay, let's go. Okay, so you saw at the first slide there was some kind of badges. So I want to start with those badges. So basically the first badge is this fancy one that's just saying build is passing. And this first badge is generated by Travis CI. So how many of you here are using actually Travis CI? Only one person? Two? So basically Travis CI is continuous integration service. It builds, runs, and tests code automatically. So basically, the idea is you have to be first the admin on GitHub repository. You enable trigger for Travis, and just push some commits to remote repository, and that's it. Travis is automatically triggered. So basically, you don't need configuration file, but everything. For customizing the build, you have to put everything in the custom configuration file called .travis.yaml. So there are quite a few of alternatives for Travis CI. You have a Circle CI. It's basically the same thing as Travis. I cannot say some differences. Works on the same. Scrutinizer is a very nice tool, but for not doing the builds, for doing something else, I'll show you later. I have slides. Up there we have and code sheet. So I have some demonstration to do. Which, for example, have a simple GitHub repository, and we have these build badges. So this one here is showing the build for branch 1x. So I have two versions, or library in two versions. Version 1 for support and maintenance, and the master branch basically it's version 2.
Sorry, can you zoom in a little
bit? Better?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's very easy to use. Just click here and see the Travis console. First of all, okay, this is my bundle. In this bundle project, right? My project, and in this project I have Travis.yaml file. We'll just skim through very fast. Okay, do you see enough? Excluded. Okay, so basically first you have to specify which language you use. Of course, with PHP. The second thing you have to specify on which built environment you are running your tests. You can choose 4 different environments. Basically, you have 3 environments with Ubuntu distributions. Basically, trusty and precise, I believe. And there is a second key called sudo. So basically, if you are putting the trusty and you are not using sudo, then on Travis you will trigger building of container-based virtual machine. So it's basically a simple container that's got maximum of 4 gigs of RAM and 2 cores. On the other hand, the other advantage is that you have quite fast boot times. So virtual machine will start very, very fast. The second thing, you can put sudo true, and then you are skipping the container-based virtual machine, and you're going to true VM. Basically, you can use more resources, more CPU cores. That's the only advantage, but basically boot time is very slow. So there's 3 of them, and the 4th thing is if you are doing any development on OS 10, you can put, for example, OS colon OS X, and you will have basically OS 10 virtual machine. Okay, some directories to cache, basically cache vendors and composer files. And this is a very nice thing. We are defining this build to run on 3 PHP versions: 7.0, 7.1, 7.2, and nightly. Of course, on nightly build, there will probably be a lot of failures, so we are allowing this build to fail. It will not mess up with the Travis score. So basically, if this one fails, Travis build will be green, because this build is basically irrelevant for us. You can specify branches for which will be triggering the build. Basically, I want master and 1x, of course. And plus, every single pull request that is the open on the repository will trigger the build. There's some simple things. For example, before install, I want to add PHP configuration. Basically, I'm giving PHP 3 gigs of RAM. I'll show you the file. Then after that, I want to do composer install. Then I want some executing script, for example, PHP unit. Disabling the mail notification. Basically, if you enable mail notification, every single build that pass, you will get a mail notification, and you don't want that. It's irrelevant. And the second thing, when you disable mail notification, you will always receive mail if build crashed, is failed. So it will send you email. Git dept, quite relevant. And this is quite a nice thing, because when I'm generating code coverage with this directive, I'm sending the code coverage to the code cover service. I will show it later. Just one short. And this is the file I'm including inside the Travis. Just enable it never went 3 weeks. So basically, there's quite good documentation for Travis. Basically, you saw these keys, these YAML keys inside the configuration file. For example, before install script. This is the life cycle of Travis build. So first of all, you first opt add-ons will be run, then cache components, and before install. So basically, you can prepare whatever you want inside the Travis build. For example, if you need Apache server or you need Nginx, you can set up everything before install, for example. Then in install, you can run a composer before script. Maybe some tweaking about composer something else. Script should probably run the tests, and after success, you can send code coverage, or on failure, you can send something else. For example, notification is like scripts for this. Okay, just quick run up on Travis console. So for example, when every single build is run, you see jobs. I have 4 jobs defined. For example, PHP 7, PHP 7.1, PHP 7.2, and nightly build. So as you can see, first 3 builds are relevant, they pass, and Travis score is green, and the nightly build is not so much required, so we can simply fail. There is also a very nice thing, for example, Travis, I'll just show you before. For example, this Travis configuration is running the unit tests, and then it runs integration tests for PHP versions. For example, you have 5.6 unit test, then 5.6 integration test, and then for 7, 7.1, 7.2, etc. That's probably. There's also a very nice thing. I don't know if you ever saw this, but if you have a big project, for example, like ZgPublish, 2 years ago, it was a big unoptimized project. It was having a lot of dependencies. Basically, when you started to compose and install, every single Travis build would fail here. I set a lot of RAM, but again, Travis build would fail because it just wouldn't wait so long in time. It didn't require system resources, but time. And with this directive, Travis wait, you just wait, you just say Travis, please wait for 20 minutes for my build. I do 20 minutes for this. So after 20 minutes, if you cannot run compose install, then probably you should shoot yourself. Okay. Okay, this is the Travis CI. Just build. This is a simple log. Basically, it's building your virtual machine, setting PHP, compose runs, running test results. That's it. Very nice tool. So I would recommend if you're doing anything on GitHub, check this tool out. It's very nice. Okay, let's continue. And also, okay, I mentioned the alternatives. The second one is Scrutinizer CI. It's also continuous integration service. Also, they say it's continuous deployment service. It can do automated code reviews. So Travis cannot do automated code reviews. And it is using scrutinizer.yaml configuration file. And there are some alternatives to Scrutinizer service. So if you do not want to use remote service for automated code reviews, you can, for example, use PHP mess detector tool. Does anybody here use that? Only person tool. Okay, or PHP code sniffer. They're also a great tool, but they will provide you with the results in command line. So if you don't like the results in command line, you probably want to scrutinize. Some simple notice: Scrutinizer can do builds, but if you compare that to Travis, this is quite bad. Basically, you cannot run multiple PHP versions. You have to specify only one version. When you will run, for example, a test, basically PHP 7.2, and then you are lock out to 7.2. With Travis, you can specify just about everything. So, just a quick example. We are using Scrutinizer CI to generate code reviews, basically. We're scanning the code and displaying very nice results. So, again, simple demo. Okay, this is the simple second batch. Okay, you can see here we have a generated score. And for example, we can see per build. We've got, for example, 9 issues, so 1 issue is fixed. Then again, previous build and previous build. And one very nice thing I like about Scrutinizer is basically every single file you have in your project is analyzed. So it will give you very nice results. For example, you have a lot of duplicated code, you have bugs. Basically, every single analysis they do here can be done with command line tools called PHP detector tools. Basically, they're just make the output of results of those tools a bit fancy. They say they have their own scrutinizer checks, but it's PHP detector. And also it generates very nice score. For example, every single file, ABCD, for example. So it basically checks for complexity. I believe it's based on sum of psychometric complexities of methods. So for example, I don't know here if does anybody here know what is a CREP?
What's
CREP. CREP index. Okay, so CREP index is change. Can you help me out? Change risk anti-pattern. Sorry, change risk anti-pattern index, and it looks in a class, looks for a method, and then it counts psychometric complexity. And psychometric complexity of the method is how many, for example, if-else statements you have in your method. It just counts all those statements. That's the first thing that is going to score, and the second one that is going to score is how much of your method is code is test covered, for example. That is the second score. And by combining these two scores, you have a CREP index. Okay, what else we have here? Okay, as I said, Scrutinizer can do builds, but I'm not doing the builds on Scrutinizer because they're pretty bad. I'm just using it for code analysis. And it's doing a very nice job with the code analysis. Okay, let's go next. Next tool, SensorLabs Insight. Does anybody here use SensorLabs Insight? No. Okay. Basically, it's SensorLabs tool, remote tool, that's doing analysis on bugs, security issues, dead code, sometimes performance, it's a bit tricky, and the code style. So idea is you just enable SensorLabs Insight on your repo and on their administration interface when you register on SensorLabs Insight page. There is no need to do a configuration file. And what is very nice, this SensorLabs Insight is doing very nice analysis of, for example, security issues. I'll give you an example. Systems. I have enabled it on all repositories, but all builds are clean without errors. So Insight. For example, this is a very nice thing because if you are, for example, having a project that's got a dependency on another library, it's got security issues, it will make your notice here. So this is a very nice thing. For example, You depend on Symfony console, and Symfony console, for example, 2.8.15 has got some kind of security breach. You can just up your requirements a bit to, for example, 2.8.20 without security issues. So very nice tool to use. And it's also generating very nice data.
Is it free to use?
Of course,
Yes.
all those tools I have mentioned are free to use.
Or open source.
Of course.
Not for open source, for public repos.
Public repos, yes. Basically, all those tools have their own counterparts that are actually paid. Like everything these days, you have cheap and you have to pay for something. So basically, for poor people, you have to use free versions. So, but free versions are very nice. For example, Travis in free version can do a lot of nice things. The other thing you don't want to do with the free version, you can't, is doing to trigger deploy on production server, because basically you need to set your SSH keys, your tokens on public thing, and that's not very good. For example, I think everyone who lands on your Travis CI page can see your build. You can open your blog, you can see your SSH files, tokens.
I think there's a way to overcome this problem. I know the ZgPHP website is built by Travis automatically. There's some secret store where you can store your key without it.
No, you encrypt it with Travis public key. So only Travis can read it.
Okay, nice thing. I didn't know about it. Nice. Okay, so does anybody know any alternative to this one? Maybe.
SonarQube?
Sorry?
SonarQube?
SonarQube. I'll check it out. Thank you.
Is it for a sticker?
Okay. Okay. The next tool. Next tool I'm using is Code Planet. It tracks the maintainability of the code, maintainability on their own score. For example, they're generating maintainability score based on duplication in your code, based on your prep index, for example, and based on they have a psychometric complexity and they have cognitive complexity. For example, cognitive complexity is analysis about is your code very easy to read. So psychometric complexity checks, for example, if process is very complex, and the cognitive analysis checks is this very easy to read. For example, simple switch statement would have very big cognitive complexity because to test switch case is not very easy. For example, if you have four cases, there will be a lot of tests. But on the other side, it's very easy to read. Very easy to see which result you will get from that. So basically, it is doing code coverage analysis. You cannot do builds on the code file. You cannot deploy the code on the production with it. You just use it as analysis. You can do custom configuration with code YAML file. And a very nice thing they have is this browser extension. For example, every single repository that's got an code Planet enabled. When you land on that repository, you just pop up a very nice icon with this icon here. Score icon basically pops up. You can click on it and you land to their code Planet page, so you can have fun with their code. So basically, some alternatives to this are PHP again, PHP mess detector and PHP code sniffer. Basically like Scrutinizer, they're also using PHP Markdown and PHP code sniffer in their backends. So basically everything can be done with PHP Markdown, mess detector, and PHP code sniffer. Okay, simple demo. So I don't have a code Planet badge, but have a browser extension. It's shown here. Basically, CodePilot can generate this score, and they also can display test coverage. For example, you open their console. You see how many files you have. There's some simple stats, how many code smells and application you have, for example. Well, the second nice thing, for example, here is these graphs. So we can have them generated. For example, these code threads. They display how many technical depth in time you have, lines of code, charm versus mutability. Very nice thing to track your code. And also, you can see your code analysis here, for example. Okay, so I have this file called configuration, and this configuration has, for example, method that has 65 lines of code. Okay, but the limit is 25, so I should refactor to two methods, 3, something like that. So very nice thing. You can spot quite a lot of problems with this tool. Very nice. Okay. So next tool is code coverage. So code coverage, I did a bit of a typo here because it does not generate code coverage per se. You cannot send the code to the code coverage and get the coverage back. You have to provide it with already generated coverage report. Basically, CodeCov just displays your code coverage in very fancy way. Also, very excellent thing that it can do. For example, you have build that's got PHP, that's got unit tests and then integration tests. It can sum those reports into single one. So basically, if your unit tests are generating 45% of coverage, and you've got integration tests with another 45% on different code, basically you have 90% of coverage. And with this tool, you can combine test coverage and display very nice reports. Also, you can configure to do some custom things inside the CodeCov YAML. For example, if someone do a pull request on a repo, code coverage can be automatically triggered to display simple test report. For example, this repo's got 90% of the coverage, and you are doing pull request, and your pull request coverage has been lowered to 95%, for example, and displays which methods can be used, which methods are lowering the score, and something very nice. Sometimes we have this kind of commenting disabled because it was quite annoying. Just do pull request and then just boom, just every time just generate reports. It's a bit clunky, but it's not for everybody's taste. It's got very nice browser extension, which sadly I could not use because they are not supporting the new Firefox. Shame for them. I don't know about Chrome and the test, so I can't show you the browser extension. Sorry. Just simple. So, for example, I have code coverage of 81%. So click on this badge. I will go to CodeCov console. So this is their UI. As you can see, it's much better than, for example, PHP generated report, coverage report. So let's see the file. Pretty much messed up. 0%. So basically, this is the entry is in red. It's almost the same as in PHP units on coverage report, but a bit more fancy. And also with configuration file, you can forward these coverage reports to Slack, to whatever integrations are. There is no number. Basically, you can integrate with everything that is imaginable. Okay, I believe that's it. Okay, and the main question is, how can we get those badges? Because we can turn on all those services, but we still don't have badges. So there are some kind of badges providers. Basically, some services like Travis, they have their own. So basically, just open that admin console, and in Travis admin console, we have a tab with the badges. They provide you a link, copy paste markdown file into your GitHub. That's it. I believe most of them they have. Travis, 100% sure Travis got. Code Climate has got it, and Scrutinizer, I believe. I think Code Coverage doesn't have a badge. So if you want to badge, just go to shields.io. There's probably the badge for everything you can imagine here. Whatever you can think of badges here. Okay, and that's it. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Can you make your own like custom badge?
Yes, of course. Simple.
100%.
For example, here we have this one and this one. They are pretty much custom. So I can send you a link. So it's quite easy to do. Basically, just specify what you want.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Of course. Basically, specify their URL, and then what you want there, for example, PHP 5.5, blah, 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 style. Basically, we can do whatever you want. Okay, next. Okay, after this presentation, do you think that you will use Travis more and less cases?
They lower the prices a little bit.
But on the open source repositories. Well, basically, in my personal opinion, for example, if I have to pay for this, I would pay only for Travis.
How much does it cost?
I really don't know.
Over $100.
No,
60, I
60.
think.
60 euros.
Circle CI has one machine that you get for free for private repositories.
Nice. So I have to say, well, there are a lot of other alternatives like Circle CI. Maybe they only have the only advantage I believe is in price, but
I think Travis has this build matrix where you can specify multiple versions of PHP. I'm
Yeah,
sure you
that's-
can
that's
do that
nice.
in Circle CI.
okay.
Not that easy, but you
If you can make custom badges, can you take Travis badge?
Why do you like?
I don't know.
can just see what
Build classic.
Yeah.
Test coverage.
Oh, well, basically you don't have to fake it. Just make the URL of some other repo that's going to
Exactly.
build is going to put the URL there, and the second URL put to your Travis. That's it. You have that screw up. I made myself, for example. I was putting the badge with the number of downloads, and I got the example with Doctrine repository. They put this on my repository, 16 million downloads. Overnight, $60 million. Okay, next. Okay, it's probably. Basically, I have a lot of stickers here, so I will leave them here so you can use it. Basically, the people who ask questions, they can do better ones.
First, let's do a round of applause. Do you want to do a small break / some drinks? Okay, so let's do a 5-minute break and then we're back. Ne, za servis.
Aha, vidiš kakav je ovo.
Ja ti nešto slot kava, koristim kava, iako prelazim. Juan nije kava. Slot kava se malo je, ali ima neki drugi benefit. S njim sam puno sretni. Iako korisno.
Mislim, najveće znajte da ti svi tako je bilo njamo vrti znajte. Ajde, da vam da to je ako hoćeš se desiti, to ti nađe da se znaš što je
Nije dobro za ovu plaću. Imaju PHP samo. Dođu ispred i gledaju.
Se može?
No. Let's first start this. And you are Mira.
Yeah.
You're a bit late or lost?
Our meeting just starts to be.
Okay. How is it? Good meeting. Oh. You're going for the MBA.
When you grow up,
Isn't I know it's more expensive.
what is it?
Oh, okay. Okay, that's a good point. Oh, because I know some people that went perhaps a bit weird rather than less. Okay, I'm not in the meeting, so no idea. I guess you haven't met our other organizers. Luca, he's not, no, he hasn't been. It's actually this is my last. But yeah, it's not common. So Zoran is one. So Zoran is one, and we're just getting in some few more people. Dennis is the organizer from PHP Uganda. So I'm trying. So he knows me and he knows Luca, but as you're going to be the
Super. Baš sam smisla snakati sam to.
October, November.
We don't have that as regular as you. What's your calendar?
Koje ti si imaš? Te beđe u svi projekti? Sve te ili?
Ja sam na svim izgledama postoji sve stavljeno.
Sve. I to su ovo tu? Pokemon.
Tip overcooked je možda onaj tu plemiti između. Znači kad je skor, oni su opet jedno to.
Dobro, okej, Travis record coverage, također sve okej. I da, ti dva, ono što su bilo onako, bilo malo da.
Ja sam bez paca bio.
Ha?
Ja sam jedan.
Jedan izbacio drugo.
Mislim, ruku na srce možeš koristiti. Mislim, većinu tih svih
Otherwise, I'm never going to get it.
Osim Travis bio.
Da, Travis.
Osim možda osam kroz
Travis meni čak kod coverage okej da bude u repu. Okej.
Ili kompanije.
I actually playing with this idea.
Da, ali treba u repu. A ovo na meni. Da, kao. Da, zato to nužno tamo. Nisi nužno da bude tamo. U tom smislu mislim. Da, da.
Ja sam mislio, možeš kod nas. Mislim, imam jedinu otvorenu projekt lokalno, sa tome. I kad imamo kod nas na neki sajt, gdje ima dosta izgled svih naših historija. I onda da li ti bilo prolazi, koliko je biti kvalitno.
To je bilo dobro. To je čuo.
Dosta da imaš kao jedan dashboard i možeš vidjeti biti.
To je bilo super. Jer sa svim projektima i svim statusima svih beta. To je okej, to mi je recimo super. Uj. Dobro, to je kao ljudi.
Pol sata.
Settling one company.
Super.
Prvo to bih htio fokus gledati. Travis se sam krenu pričati. Lako se pričamo na toliko da se mislim u sebi. Prvo možeš toliko samo...
Da, to je najbolje. Znaš da je dalje problema na neki Travisu koji tamo? Evo recimo... A? Ne, nego taj malo. I to sam jeo jučer kad kad ne u commit. Faila prvi put. Ja ga restartam, faila drugi put. Tada ga treći put prođe. Iz nikog razloga. I onda prođe 2 minute. Znači faila, znači taj malo nakon 20 minuta, ono, a onda mi nakon drugog, trećeg puta, whatever, prođe 2 minute. Ne kužim. I to ispada da prođe kad su prazni cache. Znači nema generiranja cache, onda prođe. No, nije da prva 2 puta generira cache koji što znači, nego ne, jednostavno, taj malo prva 2 puta, treći put ili na delu, neki put prođe. To napred da sam napravio puli quest bez problema, prošlo 2 minute, sve ono. Uopće ne kužim više razlike radi.
Da se ono kad sam to inicijalno postavio, većina rekla mi smo ZgPHP. Da. Su taj ono crkvom govori i sve, i ali onda kad vi stavili 6.12, ili tako nešto 6.13, da su napravili neku optimizaciju oko cijelog tog kontejnera. Nakon toga ti performansa sajta bruto stavljaju.
Ja mislim da je meni problem najveći što ja requiram jedan drugi Netgearov paket, a koji requira in the system with publish kernel z. Meni čini da se on tu zna sve. Da on kad pokušava sve to skupa izvizualati, da ga onda počne jednostavno hvatiti.
Realno bi isto, ali to sam skužio da prinosima čime
Ja jesam naveo, zašto ne jesam, naveo sam, šalio sam se sigurno, šalio sam 5, 4 i 6 nešto i sve na čudesa. I to mi nije baš puno pomagalo, na kraju mi se stavio na 2014-12. Ali mislim da je problem što ja requiram nešto drugo Netgearova što traži svijet. Jer requiram ne bi onako zbijen sam stvore. Ti kad requiraš nešto drugo, ne bi ga odlazi. I tamo zvijet.
Sami svijet da se radi kalkulacija.
Da, ja mislim da je to uvijek. Kad sam probao ubiti taj open graph. Spizda open graph. Ja kad znam da sam ubio open graph, da traži open graph, ja onda nije. Onda mislim na minuti.
Može biti srednji, baš za opet časno. Da li mislim baš na verziju tipa su platformi, ovu da stavimo portal, stavimo neki tim.
Da. Ne znam, nisam. Mislim, meni se recimo šta se moram jednostavno sportiti 5, 4 i 6, a ne bilo ništa. I 5, moram sportiti 5, 4. A ne znam.
Da se stavim tako u 5,
5, nema ništa, 5, 6, ja što je.
5, 6 ima tu lagano da se trebaš.
Da, da je remotno računam sljedeću među već, gdje bi dik tepi. Može čak i raditi. Baš sam danas sjedio pričao isto. Imam hrpu tih servisa po remote ljudi koji svi su sad pali. I da li je mijenjanje iz public u private servisa, da li je to nekim change?
Nije servisa isto.
Pa što drugo public cloud? Svi pričaju. Da li to spada pod nekim change u nas? Da li da? Ja to znači da ga nisi koristiti po best practices značno, nego si ga dobro biti iskutenja.
Tehnički ne bi trebalo biti neki change.
Jer dalje možeš...
Jer je pitanje da li je taj servis na neki način eksplozivan, da li ima... Da li zamišlja se koristiti javno.
Ne, ali ti ga možeš koristiti javno kad je public cloud. Samo da moraš injectiti iz kontejnera, neko je dovodi iz kontejnera. Da li to je? Ja je rekao da on smatra da nije i da je on to radio, ne znam što je. Da je to on napravio, ali da je lila.
Taj jedan zajedno se dogodio isto. Sam radila onaj naravno period solar circuits. Znači, ja sam isto neku optimizaciju. Tipa mogu da ti imaš demo, kažeš imaš neki automog, onda mi lovde testove, glavom, sve, a kad ti standardni modu, onda nećeš imati, ne želiš imati tam testove, ne treba. Kako problem? Znači, oni u tom testu su imali neku klasu koji su oni riduzali u osnovu. Ja kad sam to napravio, ja bih kinuo sve testove. Sad vam pričam s ovim likom, sam će izjaviti, baš sam pričao. Nema smisla da je ta klasa tamo. Znači, na neki način ti moraš u oziru njemu reći da se vidi, ok, ta klasa mora biti tamo odljena standardna. To ne je da se ne uzaj. Što primjer, niko ne očekuje da se ti imaš neki specijalni test da je
Hvala, danas cijeli dan trči izlučeni.
Znači ja probijem neki test reklama,
Da, što je vidio.
neka stvar su na primjer oni easy testi, to s njim kažeš, ok, ti je apsolutni motiv, i ti ako radiš teste,
Ovako je malo, stjetiš nekad, da odlažem.
a ovo je ono vrela, ne
Vidjet će da malo,
A šta više postavljaju klasa kao final? A tada se isto bija, da kao fik, toga da se više nije bez preko stenda se ne može korijeti. Jer uvijek ima, znaš, postoji interfejs koji iz klasa implementira, teorija, postavljaju final na klasu, ne bi trebalo da možeš da postoji interfejs koji imaš implementirati koji je Da, ti se zove ono isto, ono, lila, ne znam, Podujte me da implementiraju. I uvijek se da po klasu.
Ovaj mat testira se slikom od Federa.
Ja sam se tamo
Znači da se sad sebi ste napravili sam sebi sranje, sam na Freedomu, htjeno sam nešto iz mobilna provajdera, ali onda taj klip ispuniti taj svoj, isto da sam to šta sve čim. To je sranje. Jako je znaš, kad se implementirate, ovdje kasnije ima dokument, znate način tamo, i onda sam dobio sranje, ne je to možda pijak uđe.
Onda
imaš onaj content view.
Nisam malo da.
Taj pintam u nekom servisu na bazi stenda, znači njihovu implementaciju ne
So before we give the stage to Josip, let's first give a warm welcome to our hosts. And Ivan, who's going to say a bit about SofaScore.
So my name is Ivan, and I'm one of the co-founder of SofaScore, and there is Zlatko, the second founder, please. We'll talk in English, but my presentation is on Croatian, so we'll mix something between. 1998. So in that year, Croatia was the third one on the World Cup in France. 4 days later, livescore.com they registered that domain, and a few months later, Google opened a company. They had some domain on college before that, but we are talking about 1998 when our main competitor came to the market. 2010, we created our first domain and project with sport results. We changed that bad name in 2012. We changed it to SofaScore before the Euro Cup. And now we are in 2018. Now we have 45 employees and we have 12 million of monthly active users. And this is our vision. Our vision is to be the fastest sport results app. Our second vision is to be the technical company, to be the best, to use the best technology. We have Apple Watch app, Android Watch app, Apple TV, Android TV. We are using the latest features from the Google, from the Apples, and we are one of the first app which used the push notification for send results. When we started, the results, the push notification was limited to 20,000 a month per day. Now we have, usually on the weekend, we have 100 million push notifications. So we use the latest technology features from the Google. Apple doesn't have something like that, but we're using also everything from the Apple. One of our vision is to have latest design. When we have Android app, we are using the all guidelines from the Google, from the Apple. We have really good modern design. One of our vision is to have almost all sports on the world in one app, because our users, they're using, for example, one app for the ATP tennis, second app for the Croatian football, and they like that they have SofaScore, one app with dozens of sports. And something really big is big data. Now we are using more than 100 statistic data for each player. We are creating unique SofaScore player rating, and we have to plan go to the big data much more. And we are in Zagreb. Sve ovo želimo raditi u Zagrebu. Smatramo da Irska je obećana zemlja, Amerika je obećana zemlja, ali ja mislim da nemamo razloga mi ovdje u Hrvatskoj pričati o tome da je vani trava zelenija. Ono što je meni osobno kao jednom od co-foundera SofaScore nekako osobno najviše srcu drago, da imamo 45 ljudi koji su ostali u Hrvatskoj, koji ne rade za neke tamo firme koje na kraju su dobiti sve skupa prosvjeđu van. Evo vidim dečki iz Nedgena isto tako. Mislim da je ovo najbitnije da radimo iz Zagreba. This is for me. Now, Josip will have the...
You ready? No rocket needed. Okay, let's give a warm applause.
Feel a little bit lazy, so I'm gonna sit. Okay then, let's get this over quick so we all can enjoy pizza and drinks, right? As you already have heard, my name is Josip, and when I decided to do this talk, I had quite a few more specific and more technical topics in mind. But instead of you hearing about our caching system, Postgres, or the difference between several messaging queues, you're gonna get something more general. And well, because this is the first ever event here at SofaScore, at least of such kind, I decided to be also a little bit thematic. In essence, this is a talk about some of the experience you can get by working on just one project for several years non-stop. A project that in time grew quite a bit. To give you perspective, let's talk some numbers. As you already have heard, the project celebrated last year 7 years. It is present on all the major platforms and some minor ones, with more than 12 million active users. On a monthly basis, our servers handle 11 billion requests, where 86% hit our cache. We also send 2.3 billion push notifications for mobile users. On average, that's about 77 million every day. When it comes to our websites, every month we have more than 70 million page views, spread over close to 90 million sessions. The record peak was 250 real-time users on the site. When it comes to this domain, this is far from the limit. In fact, in 6 months' time, much of these numbers will significantly change. And change is something we all face in life. When the numbers like this change and rise, it's mostly straightforward. You adapt your architecture, you buy more servers, you write more scalable code. It's all already been said and done. But what about the change in the way you think? What when something like that needs to happen? We tend to discuss new features in our applications rather often, and we get a lot of feature requests from our users. Because of that, at some point, you're probably going to hear the question, who's going to use that? To find out how many people would use this new feature. Sometimes we start a poll with a couple of questions, and then we get results where only 5% of the people showed interest in that specific thing. Reactions that follow are like only 5%, and it's gonna take us 3 weeks to implement that. Yeah, we have to do this other stuff. So you dismiss it and move on. And another 4, 5, 6% gets dismissed until one day someone said, hey guys, this 5%, I've done some calculating and it turns out to be 200,000 users. Are we really okay with dismissing a request that would be used by 200,000 people? As it happened to be, we were not okay with it. Until that point, we were used to think small, and now we realize we are starting to be big enough to think even bigger. At the beginning, I showed you the numbers we have now, but 5 years ago, we used to make bets for fun on how many push notifications are we going to send that day. And the numbers we threw on the whiteboard were in a range of a couple of 100,000. This upcoming weekend, our servers are going to need to send out 200 million. This is just a small example. These kind of situations are going to take many different forms. Maybe you are used to have a meeting every morning where everybody's going to be present to hear absolutely everything about the project. But now there are suddenly too many people, so the way you communicate it all together needs to change. Maybe not every feature request is a feature request. Maybe it's a solution to a problem offered by users. A problem that you're not seeing right now, that you're not aware of. Or the solution to this problem might not even be as big as a new feature, but is as small as a little change in the layout of your application. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, don't be just prepared for the change in the environment, but be also prepared to change yourself. When you accept that, you're one step closer of being ready to deal with responsibility. And how do you deal with responsibility? But try to just divide it. When you work on something for a long time, you kind of get forced to think about testing and code reviews and documentation, no matter how tedious you think it is. Because one day that hacky code you have written is going to bite you back. Not the next guy, but you. On another occasion, that sloppy mistake you have made will end up in production. And it will break stuff. To hunt it down is going to be stressful, and the responsibility is going to be all yours. Why would you ever want that? To mitigate the possibility of such situations that are happening, we incorporated a few things in our daily working routine. But first, let's see how we usually do it. There are long cycles between deployments. Sometimes a month worth of work would be shipped at once. Of course, no test coverage. Why would you waste your time for tests? Who does that? Code reviews? Yes. when something broke in production, we all review the code, trying to understand it. All in all, pretty fun times. Now, on every working day, we tend to do around 5-6 deployments to production. By pushing out code in smaller increments, even if something goes wrong, it's easier to pinpoint where the problem is. I think the record was 20 deployments in one day, maybe even more.
Was it 19 bug fixes?
Actually, no, only 10. So let's say someone's working on a new feature. From the master branch, he's going to create a feature branch, and that's where their work is going to be. When they think they're done, they create a pull request. At this moment, their feature branch gets built and tests are run. Notice that there are two checks displayed. One is where all the tests are run against the feature branch, and the other is the same test run on the code that you would get if you right now merge this pull request to the master. If all tests pass, one last thing is left to do, and let's wait for the code to be reviewed. When talking about code review, I need to mention that last year GitHub introduced a new feature called code owners. With that feature, you can specify which people are the owners of the files in your project. For instance, you can set all senior developers as code owners. With that in place, code owners will automatically be requested to review whenever a pull request touches files they own. And if you want a rigorous review process, there's a protect branch option to ensure that right people have a chance to review. With that option enabled, a code owner has to leave a review before anyone can merge a pull request to that branch. No commit gets to master without going through this process. It always was and always will be a team effort. By sharing the responsibility amongst multiple people and some optimization processes, you get a less stressful working environment where no one competes alone. Because the real competition is out there. Chances are you're not the first one doing this, what you do. And in our case, that is certainly true. Notice that until this point, besides one word in the title of this talk, I have not mentioned what we actually are or actually do. That's because most of the stuff I'm talking about is applicable to anybody. And I did not want you to be coupled with an idea that's going to be maybe alien to you. But when talking about competition, I feel like I need to give you some context. So we are a live sport. We deliver live sport results as fast as possible to people interested in sporting events. That also includes all kinds of statistical data about their favorite teams, competitions, players, in more than 20 different sports. So here we are talking about data accessible to everyone. In this case, there is not much what you can have that a competition can't, and vice versa. How to distinguish yourself then? How to make the difference? Well, one thing that you can do is look at the data that you have and just try to figure out a way to create new useful data from it. Maybe even take concepts that are already out there, but improve them. If you're the first one presenting this feature, be sure to make it the best version it can be. Because then when someone tries to take your concept and tries to copy it, that's all it's ever going to be, a bad copy. Do not give others a chance to improve upon you. For many football matches, we have almost 150 different play statistics for each player that participates in that match. And of course, you don't want to just spit it out on the screen. That way you get a big mess where the user would be buried under a lot of noise. So what you need to do is distill the data, think about what's going to be more useful, and package it in a way that will be useful, that will be understandable to your users. In other words, you need design. Here's an example of a feature we offer in our applications. This is a football match played a couple of days ago, and the graph shows the attacking momentum of the teams at any given moment through the match. With the help of this graph, you can get an idea about the course of the game. It is calculated live, so even if you're currently not able to watch the match, you can follow it and get some insights. In this example, you can see that even though the away team was the winner, that actually the home team was the one who was in control of the match. They created a lot of pressure, but did not capitalize on their chances. And without me telling you, the exact minute the winning goal was scored. And thank you all for points me on the graph where it actually happened. There are many more examples. This is solely based on the statistical data we gather from the matches. As I have already said, it's data our competition also has, or it can get. But what they can get so easily is the process and the logic behind these graphs and numbers. They can make their own version, their own copy, but we made sure that it would be just a bad copy. And I think that users recognize that. Of course, there are different kinds of users. And in our case, because we are mostly dealing with people that are sports fans, they also tend to be fanatical when it comes to their lifestyle applications. 3 years ago, we created our own chat system in our mobile applications, where every match has its own chat room, so people can leave comments and maybe discuss the performance of their teams. And naturally, as it happens to be in chat rooms, all hell broke loose. Of course, we knew that would be like that, so our support team handled the moderating of groups. But this was never a long-term option, so we started to give moderator rights to some of the better behaving users. We created a new room only visible to moderators, so we can easily communicate with them all at once. We never told them that they have to moderate. We never organized some schedules on coverage, who should be in what match at what point. We never offered this kind of payments. We just gave to some of them the option to ban people from the conversation. It happens to me. They stumble upon something inappropriate. So yeah, and that's all. But somehow they accepted it as a job. As if it was their obligation to keep the chat room clean. They even started to build a community. There was drama between them. And as the interest in the chat grew, we gave to more and more people the moderator rights. And slowly the moderator community grew also. At some point, they even started planning a convention of Sophos Group moderators. There was this one time where one of them wrote a post in this moderator chat room. He was apologizing to everyone because he's not going to be able to cover tonight's matches. And he asked the other ones if someone else could step in for those matches because there were riots in his city and he needs to go outside and fight for the freedom of his people. It was unbelievable how seriously they took the role of a moderator. And some of them take this moderator job so serious that it even puts some LinkedIn accounts. Those are our users. They are our engine. They help us. They are part of the Sophos Group project. And I'm not only talking about users from our chat rooms. There are many others who help us by fixing and expanding our data. Because of them, we offer options in our applications through which they can suggest data corrections more easily instead of sending emails. Yes, they are part of this project. No matter how distant they feel to us, they are people. And so are we, all of us who worked and lived with this project for years. When you work on something for so long, you leave a part of yourself in that work, and you start to care much more. Not only for the project, but also for the people surrounding you. And I think that's a big part of success. If you manage to build not only a product, but also a community, once you have that, you can't allow yourselves anymore to take so easily risks, because now you have much more to lose. And losing friends hurts the most. So if you're going to live with anything from this talk, let it be this. Be prepared to change yourself. But don't think that you have to carry the responsibility alone. No matter who or what your competition is, there is always a community ready to support you. Because in the end, all what really matters are the people. Thank you.
Questions?
With pizza and beer, it's going to be easy.
Any questions? Or is anybody still playing?
How do you calculate the pressure chart?
I really can't tell you more about it. But the statistical data, it's something you have
Like ball possession or something.
amongst other things, ball possession, shots inside the goal from.
So can you make predictions about the future matches? Yes.
What do you think? What paid this office
Who will win today?
today?
Croatia or
The bookies. I saw some hands there.
Do you use any sort of artificial intelligence for that? Because we have a lot of data.
Yes, of course. We made our own algorithms to calculate some of the things. For instance, you saw this graph where we showed something about like a pentagram, not a pentagram.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, it's something you see in video games on Manager if you ever played. And that sort of stuff usually comes where somebody says, okay, his attacking is 86, his defense is 77. We have our own logic that every month calculates over based on the statistics he produced most recently. So yes, this is just one example. There's other stuff.
So basically, when you're working on the one project for a long period of
Yeah.
time, do you feel like being bored by that project, and how do you find it?
Because we do not have any other clients. We work for ourselves basically. So we decide what technology we're going to use, what's going to be our next project. It is one project, but we have many sub-projects like the chat system. That's something that has nothing to do with sports. And besides that, we have internal admins that have some other problematics solved that has, nothing to do with sports. So it's never boring. You never feel like you never feel that you're missing progress. You develop yourself with that project. So the answer is no. I really don't miss anything working on this project, because whenever I see a new technology that's interesting to me, I'm gonna reserve the time to find the use for it in our project.
Approximately a range. How much data is one football match?
1 foot match, what?
In megabytes. I don't know. Something.
Bananas.
I really have no idea. It depends. What if we're talking about a high-class match? I really don't know. It's 150 integers per player. 22 players. That's a lot of stuff.
Approximately.
I don't know.
5 megabytes.
Approximately. After the pizza, I'm gonna cut. Yeah.
We'll do the math.
Do you find community-based moderators useful? And when people get banned, is that permanent or they come like a better person after that?
That's at first we had permanent. What?
Are they reconsider their?
Some of them, but
What?
this is going to
Yeah, that's because.
Can you unbring this guy?
At first we had bands. Of course, we also can remove URLs.
Please tell a story about locked phones. When you sell the phone in Yoshkawa, your phone is probably locked in the chat.
So, at first, of course, we had this regular ban. So, at one point, we needed to implement permanent banning. But then, as he mentioned, we got retaliation from our users with bad ratings on the App Store and Play Store. So what we did was shadow banning.
What is that?
We banned him, but no one else sees messages unless he besides him.
So
Only
He doesn't know.
he does not know that he's banned. And he writes, and he's happy. Yes. Because they think that if no one answers them, they think they have an error in this still send feedback. No one sees my messages and we say, okay, we're gonna fix it.
We
The main
receive
question is, can the moderator ban other moderators?
No, no.
Sorry guys,
They try.
They try.
Actually, this is being recorded. Director's cut.
No,
How do you test for scalability? So if you're like pushing a new feature, how do you know that 200 million users
it's
is
in our case, it's pretty predictable because you know how many matches it's gonna be on the week. You exactly know it. It's not going to be like suddenly twice as many matches and twice as many users.
no, but like if you like, I don't know, implement some kind of new technology, something new, anything, how do you know it's gonna withstand like the load? You have specific tests just for scalability.
I know.
it's a complex problem, but we if you create a new endpoint for API, you can test how much performance does it take from your system, like how many queries, how long the execution lasts, and whatever. And every endpoint is cached. So by calculating how much requests per minute you can get top because of the cache, you know how much of an impact it's going to have on the system.
You have mentioned push notifications and already large numbers of push notifications being sent. Are you using your own implementation or are you using any service like Firebase or something like that?
We have our own implementation.
So, and what's the average delivery time?
Like a million in 10 seconds.
Under 10.
Under 10 seconds. Million.
So since this is a PHP meetup, you're probably using PHP
Yes.
in your stack. Other technologies that you had to switch to because of the PHP types?
Well, depending on the problem, something is written. We use on some places Node.js. What? Yeah, we're not proud of it. Depends on the problem. If it's something is better suited for Python, we're going to use Python, but our main backend and everything, the whole infrastructure is basically PHP. But we do not discriminate.
These have the same
Two.
leading edge.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Before we go start eating and everything, if somebody's interested in seeing the offices, you can either pick one of those 4 people there and see the offices. I really love the dev part there. They have real nice tables. And that's how the dev office should work. Oh yeah, by the way, are you hiring? Also, if you're interested in working here, you can talk to some of them or have more skill.
A lot of space.
Yeah. Before we go for pizza, I just wanted to do a small announcement. This is going to be my last ZgPHP meetup as an organizer. I'm leaving it in capable hands of Zoran.
So you're that capable.
Support. ZgPHP has done amazing things since Zoran joined us about a year ago. I think it's time for me to do other things and leave the community to be in your hands. We have more than enough hands. I hope that 5 or 6, I have no idea to count that much. Will be more than enough.
Are you moving to JavaScript community?
No, I'm staying here. I'm going to try to be still on every meetup, but I'm not going to be part of the anymore, and it was nice being here. Thank you all, and let's go for food.